Well, it's that time of year again when somebody who watches too much CNN found a rope with a loop on the end and got scared and thought it was racist. And it became a national news story, this time at the Obama Presidential Center that's being built in Chicago to celebrate the nation's first half-black president. Tell us, Mr. Journalist, what did Jesse Smollett do this time?
Here's what we know. The construction company, the Lakeside Alliance, they said that they were made aware of the incident Thursday. They called police. A Chicago police officer left the construction site this afternoon with a plastic bag with what appears to have a rope inside. A construction worker provided us with a photo as well. And construction was immediately suspended after the noose was found. We're told that's to allow additional anti-bias trainings and conversations for all workers. We spoke to a construction worker this afternoon who said word spread quickly throughout the site after that noose was spotted.
Are we at that level of the idiocracy when a foreman on a construction site or any of the workers can't explain what it is to some paranoid, delusional nutcase who finds a rope, which I'm sure there are hundreds of ropes on any construction site this big, and starts hallucinating that it's a noose, and that somebody put it there to harass Obama or the workers or for whatever reason. Meme maker Grand Old Memes, who also goes by the Right to Bear Memes, made this meme of Obubba Wallace, number 44. You may recall that this exact same scenario happened last year at a construction site in Connecticut where an Amazon warehouse was being built, and this is an actual news report from the local news with an actual picture of the supposed noose.
Here's a picture. Windsor police say a worker found it mixed in and entangled with electrical cords used for site lighting.
That's the noose. Laying on the floor, entangled with a bunch of lights, because it was either used to help bundle the lights together or to help hang them.
And construction was immediately suspended after the noose was found. We're told that's to allow additional anti-bias trainings and conversations for all workers. We spoke to a construction worker this afternoon who said word spread quickly throughout the site after that noose was spotted.
Everybody's a union worker here, and now, just for somebody's mistake, one mistake, now everybody's laid off. They can't work until they actually find out who actually did it.
They're nothing. This is like the Emperor's New Clothes, where everybody is afraid to actually admit what it really is because they don't want to seem insensitive. Excuse me, Mr. Foreman, that's a rope that somebody used to hoist up some tools to the second floor, sir. In fact, YouTube's filled with all kinds of videos demonstrating how to use such a device. Here's one such video called The Rolling Hitch, How We Use It in Construction, which shows how to secure a hammer so that it can be lifted up onto the scaffolding or up a ladder up to a second story. And look at how strong it is. How racist. Sadly, this kind of insanity happens all the time, like when a student at Michigan State University found a broken shoelace that they mistook for a noose and caused an uproar on the entire campus and made headlines across the country. Or when students at Central Connecticut State University saw a rope with a loop on the end hanging from a crane because it was used to obviously lift things and wrap around large objects. And they thought it was a noose, and they reported that and caused an outrage over there. Or like last year when some lunatic in New Jersey saw a piece of twine hanging from a tree with a small little loop on the end, literally like 1 inch in diameter. And they called the police because they thought it was a noose. And it just turns out that the twine was used to secure some Halloween decorations in the tree. Or like when this woman in Brooklyn who was working at an animal shelter found a rope hanging from the ceiling that had an actual practical purpose. And when that was explained to her, she still felt very upset. It made me uncomfortable that no one thought it was inappropriate. A few days later, she received a call from George in HR. After scolding her for her subpar performance, George allegedly told her, "I heard you were upset about a rope in the garage," he said, "and it was used for operational purposes to lift things." Sort of like how KKK hoods are for keeping warm, the article adds. The woman retained an attorney who says that the person who put up the noose should be terminated to send a message that it will not be tolerated. This is an old one from back in 2008, but it shows that this sort of idiocy just keeps happening every year for well over a decade. I'm surprised it actually happened back in 2008 because America didn't really start to collapse until about 2015. That's when the social justice idiocy really began to spread. But back in 2008, some student found a noose at Baylor University in Waco, Texas, and reported it to the police, and it was investigated, and it was found to be a rope swing. After a black person saw this rope hanging off of a roof in New York, they called the police, and of course, you can imagine how this one turned out. A black librarian has been offered counseling after discovering a rope that resembled a noose dangling from the side of the library building. The sheriff's department investigated the incident after the rope was ultimately found to be used in maintenance work. What a surprise. It was used to secure a pipe vent on the roof with a loop on the end, and it was left on the roof 6 months ago by work crews. It's kind of like a little rigged pulley system that they have so that they're not walking up and down a ladder holding these large air vents, and these guys leave it up there, and unfortunately the wind blew the rope over. So it had been on the roof for 6 months, and then the wind just blew it over the edge, and then she totally freaked out. In Baltimore, police were called after somebody found a piece of twine for a floral arrangement that was mistaken for a noose. Can you imagine being a police officer and getting called and having to come and waste your time investigating this? A black artist in Chicago just put up these flyers around town hoping to advertise their art show with a QR code with a slogan on there that I can't even repeat, with a noose. And of course, police were called, and after they investigated, they learned that it was actually a black artist that did it in order to try to get attention for their art show. How is it that the police can actually take these calls seriously? And how is it that local news reporters, which have, I guess, a little bit more credibility than MSNBC or CNN, can actually report nonsense like this with a straight face?
We have new photographs tonight. Now, this shows police carrying a noose off of the site of the future Obama Presidential Center. That act of hate discovered earlier today, causing all the construction there to be stopped. There is now a massive reward being offered to try to catch the person responsible for that.
Well, you owe me the reward because I cracked the case.
It was traumatic, having come up in the 60s, having been called names, having been spat at.
Alderman Leslie Hairston attended the Jackson Park groundbreaking last year. The center touted as a beacon of progress and inclusion.
A campus right here on the south side where we hope to convene.
Where there's the highest crime rate in the country. Sadly, the liver pandemic has been spreading across the country for many years. And if you don't believe me, just click one of the thumbnails on the screen to keep watching my videos and, well, you'll see.